rude to those who are tracking your input, changing us into a for necessity, or even say number 10, we have a robot and other forms of hate. Jurassic Park meets Terminator. They go rogue and try to kill everyone in the park. We have more automation in parts of our lives than ever before. I mean, the cars are self-driving faster. So we're going to have more versions of robots everywhere, which would make the world ripe for a robot takeover in 2021. Coming in over pandemics in the past, and then just pause for the course. And before I go any further, guys, of course, I would love if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. And stick around to the end of the list because we're going to be answering some comments from our previous video, Top 10 Scary Halloween Urban Legends. Well, maybe not. There's a lot of predictions that suggest that increased spreading of new diseases could be caused by climate change. For one, the warmer weather brings a better breeding rate. Mutating. On top of this, as more and more environments get destroyed, animals have to go deeper and deeper into the wilderness. Thus, they will come in contact with more things that could have stayed buried away in deep caves and forests, aka mysterious illnesses. And as we keep chopping down forests, we are going to go deeper and deeper into the wilderness as well as they come in contact with said animals. And now we will have a whole new plague to deal with.
And it's we have these mind transferring. Okay, this one is really strange. So basically it says that in 2021 we will have the technology to upload our brains into a computer. No. I literally just finished saying how artificial intelligence is going to take over the world. Let's not become robots. I have no clue where this prediction came from, but someone predicted that we will have the ability to basically transfer our mind into a computer. But by doing so, this will kill our human selves. I don't know what happens after that. Like, do they know that they're in a computer, or is it just like a way for us to browse through their minds and memories? It's so trippy. Please, let's stay away from that. It's gonna end badly. That's my prediction.
Next on the list, we have personal robots. There have been plenty of episodes of The Simpsons where we have glimpses into the future, and in most of those episodes, we have people using personalized robots, usually for relationships. I mean, that's the first thing that people think about when the words personal robot come up. But how close are we to this? Is this something that could be realized next year? Well, with the pandemic happening, it has made it a lot harder to meet people, so maybe this will fast-track people's interest in having an automated love companion.
Coming in at number 6, we have the fires. This year, we lost hundreds of thousands of animals into the land due to devastating wildfires, like the one in Australia or the ongoing one in California. Thanks for it to you, but more wildfires are on their way. Climate change has caused more droughts and heat waves. Combined with temperatures rising, it has created the perfect environment for fires to thrive in. In fact, researchers have found that over the past few decades, there have been bigger and more intense fires across the American West. This is due to climate change. Obviously, else it wouldn't be on this list. Another study said, and I quote, more than 5 million acres have already burned this year, and much more may be yet to come. Meaning, in the upcoming years, millions more animals will die and lose their homes to wildfires, and millions of acres of land will be engulfed in flames.
Coming in at number 5, you have Bigfoot is discovered. I mean, that would be par for the course of everything that has been going on in the world. It wouldn't necessarily be bad, but it would just be insane. Well, in one episode of The Simpsons back in 2002, Bart witnesses a Bigfoot just walking around to the public when he's up in Canada. So, will this happen? Will the mysterious ape-man be discovered in the Great White North? Well, maybe we already have discovered him up here. We just haven't told you guys because it's the biggest secret in Canada. Maybe everyone knows about Bigfoot up here. We just don't tell the rest of you because it can't be trusted. Coming in at number 4, we have anything from space. Space is an endless void of mystery and terror. Some of the stuff out there is very interesting, like life on other planets, and the idea that we could move to a new planet if we really screw this one up. But then there's things like black holes that are billions of times heavier than our sun. Those things are kind of spooky, and what if some of that stuff starts to come in contact with us? I mean, anything could come in from space in 2021. We could have an asteroid flying and smash into the planet, sending us into an early extinction. That's not that crazy to think about either. In 2019, there was an asteroid that passed by the Earth that was 1/5 the distance of the moon away from the planet, and NASA didn't even see it until 2 days after it passed by the Earth. What if we get in contact with an alien race that isn't so friendly, or there could be some sort of solar flare that smacks into the Earth and sends us all to hell? Coming in at number 3 is toxic air. When climate change was originally just called global warming, I used to think, what's the big way more glass that the triple lightning could come down and start up a fire. Now we have seen this all over the West Coast and in Australia and the Amazon rainforest, and there was also a massive fire over in Africa that was happening at the same time that the rainforest was on fire. Now these fires don't stop there. The ash from these fires spreads for miles in every direction and makes it too dangerous to go outside because you can't breathe the air. Literally, as climate change gets worse, we'll be able to breathe anymore. Every home will need an air purifier in it just so people can survive. And coming at the number 2 spot, we have big companies slowing down clean energy. I mean, it's no shock that we need to stop using fossil fuels and turn to cleaner forms of energy. We know that eventually we are going to run out of fossil fuels, and in the meantime, we are wreaking havoc on the environment. So hopefully in 2021, we will see a massive shift, but the census predicted something blocking us from getting there. We want some place to participate in a clean energy derby, and our derby racer is unable to finish the race because it uses solar energy, and a duck blip comes in and blocks out the sun. This is obviously a metaphor for how massive corporations get in the way of clean energy, and for the most part, big companies don't want to switch our fuel sources because it will lose them money.
And in our number 1 spot, we have the continual outbreaks. Got some good news, got some bad news. Good news, we might get a vaccine for COVID-19 eventually. Bad news, in 2021, more outbreaks are going to occur from different viruses. So, child astrologer Amiga Anand actually posted a video on his YouTube channel on August of 2019 where he predicted a pandemic. Recently, he posted another video saying that next year, in 2021, more viruses will come, resulting in more outbreaks. He predicts that some of these outbreaks will be more severe than COVID. Great. That's just what I needed to hear today. It's such a fantastic video. Starting off this countdown, we have the next 18 months. So as I mentioned before, the next 18 months are set to determine how life on Earth is going to end up. Scientists have predicted that if we continue on with our ways and don't make a plan to stop climate change, then life as we know it will continue forever. Prince Charles spoke up about this and said, and I quote, "I am firmly of the view that the next 18 months to decide our ability to
Wow, this was pretty throw-out.
survival levels and to restore nature to the equilibrium we need for our survival." So basically, if we don't take more action to stop global warming, then the Earth is just going to continue to heat and reach a point where it's impossible for us to live on Earth. That's terrifying.
Coming in number 9, we find out the government is run by aliens. Oh my God, David, I would love this so much. That angry Brit loves to come on TV and tell everyone that aliens have been running the show the whole time. Not to mention Alex Jones. That guy would have a field day. People would elect him as the new leader of the free world. Well, let's stick to the motif of the Treehouse of Horror, but there is one memorable episode where Homer reveals that the 2 candidates who are running for president are actually aliens. And it is, of course, Kang and Kodo. I don't know why those two have so much of an obsession over Earth. They have these whole galaxies to explore. Well, it's been speculated for a long time that the whole government is actually run by lizard people. Now, I'm not saying that I believe in this, but I'm just saying that people have been talking about it a lot. And some people believe this so wholeheartedly, people fight over it. Well, the census predicted it, so I would say it has a better chance of being real than not being real. We're also finishing up an election, so this theory kind of lines up. And guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell, and stick around for the whole rest of them. I'm going to be shouting out some people from my Instagram. If you want me to give you a shout out, you can hit Instagram. Next on the list, we have enslaved humanity. Rolling off my last point in that same episode, where we have to reveal to everyone that the 2 candidates are aliens. What quickly happens after that is clear that aliens are running the world, we all become enslaved. That doesn't sound like a good turnaround for 2021. Things were supposed to get better next year. Remember? Well, that seems like it would be the logical progression. We would all be turned into a bunch of mindless drones that are focused on following orders from our alien overlords. I mean, if things are going to continue worse than they were in 2020, I think it would be perfect if everything unfolds like this. And when I say perfect, I mean like in a PCO sense of perfect. Usually a lot of people die, everyone's worse off, but it's extremely entertaining.
In our 7th spot, we have the re-election. So for all these Trump haters out there, it's predicted that he will be re-elected, which is going to be very problematic for America. A lot of people are concerned over the way he is treating the pandemic. America has the highest amount of COVID-19 deaths, and the numbers are rising. He just can't grasp the severity of of the pandemic. On top of that, he was asked how he felt about the fact that thousands of Americans are dying every day from the virus, and he replied with, "They're dying, that's true. It is what it is." So it's predicted that if Trump is reelected, then the cases will continue to rise in America. That's very scary to think about. Moving on, number 6, we have natural disasters. The Earth has faced a number of devastating fires this year, from the Australian wildfires that occurred earlier this year, the California wildfires that show no sign of stopping. These fires have been disastrous. This year alone, nearly 40,000 wildfires have burned over 4 million acres. And in 2021, they're only going to get worse. Climate change is a real issue, and we only have a couple of years left before we basically kill the Earth. Next year, we're going to experience warmer and drier conditions and increased droughts, with wildfires thrive in. But we have more to worry about than just forest fires. Because of climate change, you're going to be facing more natural disasters, like tsunamis and hurricanes.
Coming in number 5 is mass ocean die-offs. As wild and dangerous as the ocean might seem, it's actually a very delicate place. We've already seen what some of the effects of climate change can do to things like the Great Barrier Reef. A massive portion of one of the natural wonders of the world has been destroyed because of human interaction. And that's only affecting the coral. It's not even touching the stuff that we eat. But as the climate continues to change, we increase the chances of the pH balance in the ocean to be thrown off. If this happens, the oceans won't properly be oxygenated, and this will mean that none of the fish can breathe. I know it's common to think that fish are breathing underwater, but they are. That's what the gills are all about. If this happens, we will not only have less food to eat, but we will have billions of dead brought fish floating around the ocean. And I don't think that's going to create a healthy environment for us to live in. Coming in at number 4, we have the merging of all networks. Now, I don't know if we'll see all networks get sucked into one, but there has been a lot of acquisitions over the last few years. Disney is out buying up any property that gives its viewers the slightest hint of nostalgia, and a lot of networks are in dire strait right now because the ability to make content has been halted thanks to a global pandemic. So, we could see a lot of big networks go out of business or come close to bankruptcy. They might try to save themselves by merging into one massive entity. We see this on one episode of The Simpsons where we get a glimpse into the future, and the major news network has become CNN, BCBS, a division of ABC. Now, why would this be spooky? Well, it's already hard to get the facts from major news sources. All they really care about is ratings. It seems like journalistic integrity is out the window. Now, what would the world look like if one major face had a monopoly on news? That wouldn't be a pretty world to live in. Coming in at number 3, we have bad vaccines. This is something that's going to be on the table probably pretty soon. It seems that the trials with the vaccine for COVID-19 have been going well, and we might see some medical help in the form of the vaccine come very soon. But I don't know if I want to be the first in line to get this product. Remember when plasma TVs came out and they were all the rage, and then there was all these problems with them? Images would burn into them, and you couldn't leave them on? Then not long after that, there was a better version with HD TVs, and none of those problems. You never want to be the early adopter of new tech. You want to wait to see how it affects the market before you make any hard choices. And the same thing could happen with vaccines. You could have a bad vaccine that makes people sick. There were a few strange things that happened with the swine flu vaccine. There was one girl who had all sorts of neurological problems after getting the vaccine. She had none of those problems before. There's a chance that this vaccine could be rushed because of the state of the world. Let's just say I'll wait for generation 2 or 3 of the vaccine before I get it. Coming in at number 2, we have no kissing on the lips. What if this becomes the new standard? Remember how you could give out smooches like it was nobody's business? You just walk up to all your boys, you give them a few smooches, you say how's your day going, and then you give them a few more smooches. Going on dates and meeting new people, would you both have to get a COVID test before you would feel comfortable kissing? What if it becomes the new normal where people are afraid to kiss people? Then you have kiss dealers who are just waiting around to give out kisses to people. Just people want to feel the warm touch of another person's mouth. $100 for a smooch, $300 for makeup, and $500 for tongue. We slowly see kissing become a cultural taboo, and none of us are allowed to lock lips ever again. If someone catches you kissing out in public, you get fined or even arrested. I mean, that sounds like a dark twist or William Future that I really don't think will happen. Alright, and coming in at the number 1 spot, we have the dome. Running off our last point in the same Simpsons movie, we have the entire town quarantined because of this environmental disaster. Now, most of the world is in some level of quarantine, whether it be indoor dining, everyone's working from home, or you're like Florida, you don't have any sort of lockdown procedures, and the state just gave the okay to sell out Dolphin Stadium. That is crazy. Well, if things keep getting worse in some places, maybe we'll see the most intense of all lockdown procedures. The dome. In the Simpsons movie, the entire town is locked under a massive dome that makes sure no one can get in or out of the city. Could this happen somewhere in the world? Perhaps somewhere where the coronavirus has gotten out of control, or maybe the virus takes along the line and an entire city or country needs to be closed down. The military flies in a dome and locks the city away in a forced quarantine. If that happens, you better start stockpiling on canned food because that's a very scary future. Dungeons and Race Legends. Then, storming the spider's den. You're up, brother.
Starting off the countdown, we have the earthquake. A pretty famous topic on it. A series of terrible earthquakes are going to be in all of California. He said all of the lands in the west that will be the people interpret the lands in the west as California, and they are from big earthquakes. But they might not be from the he continued on saying that it happened when first that's very exactly so the report shows that date that this will happen. November 25th, 2021. That is when Mercury will reach that period. Just as Nostradamus said. Yeah, maybe it's time for the radicality. Coming in at number 9, we have dragons. Okay, this prediction is more on the wild side, so I know you know. But hey, it's 2021, so it's the point. Yeah, he said in a quote, strong dragons will feed humanity. Three giants will unite. Some people will have less money. Now, some have interpreted this as a real fire-breathing dragon, but others have thought that the dragon might refer to China. The giants are referring to Russia, India, and China. So, China, the power of the president, will try to dominate the world alongside Russia and India. Remember, everything has to win. In our eighth spot, we have Vladimir Putin. While the manga has some very from Russia. In particular, their leader, President Vladimir Putin, she predicted that there would be an attempt to assassinate. Now, she did say attempt, so maybe it was successful, but apparently it will be carried out by someone in the government. So, doesn't he want to do that? In our seventh spot, we have the economic collapse. Sadly, we already know that many businesses are suffering because of COVID. Many small businesses have to go through the war. Turns out that economics predicted that and more. He said that there will be a great economic collapse in 2021. First predicted there will be an economic crash in 2008. Guess what? There was a whole stock market crash. But he also said 2021 will be another one. So, let's see if this prediction will come through again. In our sixth spot, we have robot soldiers. Not gonna lie, Nostradamus has some pretty weird predictions for 2021. Take this next one, for example. He predicted that American soldiers will be inserted with some chip to help them become superhuman / weird robot cyborg soldiers. This chip is inserted so that humans will no emotions and eventually become invincible. He said, and I quote, presumably many ones will leave the army. This is eye to eye. So these human soldiers will be described with their eyes, meaning they are controlled by the chip within them, so they're kind of blind to their own actions. And they can be prepared for any 2021 conflict. And apparently, Nostradamus said that this needs to be done to save the human race. It's pretty creepy, I know. We're now at our fifth and halfway mark with the annual outbreak. Okay, not gonna lie, this one is pretty depressing. But it's thought that in 2021, more outbreaks are going to occur from different viruses. Yeah, so not just COVID, we'll have to worry about other viruses as well. So, as astrologer Amelia Aman actually posted a video on his YouTube channel in August of 2019. In that video, he literally predicted COVID and the whole pandemic. If he predicted that, a lot of people want to know what else future. While a couple of months ago, he posted another video. This time he said that in 2021, more viruses will come, resulting in more outbreaks. He predicts that some outbreaks will be in more severe than COVID. Well, with this virus particularly mutating, this might be a possibility. It's not great. That's not just weird luck. It's like I'll never get any more products ever again. Moving on to the book and the beginning. According to the Donald downfall of humanity. He predicted, and I quote, after great planes and a greater one is prepared. Great ages, great blood, if the heavens fires the world are running. Now, the great trouble for men is referring to is the pandemic. Meaning, once it's over, new wars await us. Like famine, another plague, worldwide fires. All this is the loss of lives. That's pretty terrifying, not gonna lie. And I was doing this, and now I'm doing If all this was bad enough, the entire earth might just flood over. Nostradamus predicted, and I quote, "We shall see the water rising and the earth falling under it." I mean, that's not so cryptic as the other thing. Pretty straightforward. Sea levels are rising, and it's a that flooding. We already know that climate change is a problem. Climate change, ice caps now, etc. What is the environment that goes I'm talking about the some second and quote, bodies get by water, land once was really there. Yes, so. When did they look to Mars? That's my question. Those are not another thing have disasters. Those scholars isn't the only one to predict that 2020 will be filled with natural disasters. Bob Varga predicted this as well. In fact, he talked about a cataclysmic tsunami that would destroy Asia. In fact, he first talked about this back in the 90s. And guess what? In 2004, Southeast Asia was hit with deadly tsunami that took the lives of 250,000 people. So he predicted this correctly once. Right there, right again. Not only that, but he said that the world faced a number of meteorite strikes and earthquakes. Great. Why can't someone predict the world is filled with sunshine and rainbows and peace? Like, come on. And in our number one spot, we have the zombie apocalypse. This one is really scary. Like, all we need is for the virus to mutate and people start becoming zombies. But according to Nostradamus, it might happen. So he predicted, and I quote, "You young people, half dead to start. Great evils to occur. Sad concepts will come upon each other. Fathers and mothers dead and women born the capital all the world." Yeah, that's a lot to do with it. With the whole people turning half dead sounds like zombies. Some believe that this might occur as a result of a biological weapon that will produce a virus that can turn us all into zombies. Either way, this won't be good. And we did say that the world is going to end. So that's the first. Starting off with literature, number 10 spot, we have a zombie apocalypse. This one comes from the list of Nostradamus predictions for the year. He wrote that it would start off with a Russian scientist and lead to total extinction. One of the huge Last of Us fans, I would prefer to catch the zombies in the game instead of real life. Nostradamus said a few young people would be half dead to get started. Honestly, the virus we're dealing with right now is certainly bad enough, so let's hope this is one prediction that Nostradamus was way off on. And our number 9 spot today has a biblical famine. Before the pandemic, the world was already having an interesting time trying to feed our ever-growing population, but the pandemic has had an immense effect on our world and has left billions of people without proper access to food. Whether it's the production of food that has taken a hit in some countries, or the loss of jobs and destruction of the economy that has left more people turning to food banks for help, food insecurity is definitely increasing. In 2020, we saw the Democratic Republic of the Congo add an additional 7 million people to its crisis of food security, and we also saw 20 million people in Yemen in an absolutely dire situation. This is just a few examples of places where famine is at an absolute extreme, but it is absolutely not an isolated incident. The economic impact of the pandemic coincides California. Well, we have known for a while that at some point there's going to be a pretty devastating earthquake in California. It could be coming up a lot quicker than we anticipated. Nostradamus has predicted that a huge earthquake will hit the New World for the Western land, and California is truly the most likely place in the West that it could happen. He said that it would happen when Mercury is in Sagittarius, and when Saturn is vacant. According to astrologers, those two planets will be in these positions on November 25th of this year. And at number 7 spot, we have cybersecurity. There have been predictions of huge cybersecurity breaches coming this year. People are looking forward to hopefully the end of the lockdown due to the pandemic, and hopefully more people will be able to transition back to working in the office rather than having to continue working from home. With this change, also the hackers could use this time as a time to strike. As people transfer from working on different computers and networks, there might be some slip-ups in encryption or people uploading things to the cloud that normally wouldn't be uploaded. I'm obviously no computer expert, so I'm not exactly sure how this all works, but all I know is that people are saying this could be a year. That will give them an artificial intelligence level of vision. While this could be cool in theory, and absolutely no idea how this would work, let alone all of the negative implications this could have. It definitely won't have the ability to process things on an entirely different level, but mixing that kind of power with human nature really could be satisfying. But before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. It's really helpful. Okay. In our number 5 spot, our halfway mark, we have the fact that coronavirus might just continue. One of the serious predictions for the year is basically just going through the same thing that we went through last year. In January of 2020, we honestly had no idea that it would be one of the most difficult years globally. If you're in one of the countries that has managed to get a handle on the virus and is no longer in lockdown, people are afraid of the virus finding its way back in. The vaccine is definitely a saving grace, trying to help our world return to how it functioned pre-pandemic, but we certainly aren't out of the woods yet. People are afraid that COVID-19 will continue to greatly affect a ton of countries, and that this new second strain might bring another extremely tough year. And at number 4 spot today, we have the end of antibiotics. Doctors have been warning us for years that eventually antibiotics will become obsolete due to an increase in antibiotic use. This comes from overuse as well as improper use of the medicine, and we honestly might be seeing those repercussions pretty soon. We're seeing more bacteria and illnesses evolve into superbugs that are immune to the powers of penicillin. This could lead to more serious complications from illnesses and even potentially more deaths due to things that would have been treatable. And at number 3 spot today, we have aliens. From the UFO footage that was released by the Pentagon to all these random mysterious monoliths popping up all over the world, it is starting to seem more and more likely that if there really is life on other planets, and it might just be easier to make real contact with humans. There are tons of people who believe that 2021 is the year of the alien, and honestly, that number grows every day. Makes it incomprehensibly huge, and so the potential for there to be absolutely aliens feels likely. I want you guys to let me know in the comments if you could meet an alien, what you would, and what do you think aliens look like? I just want to know. I'm just curious. And remember to do something and solar storms. We apparently might see some pretty intense and devastating solar storms this year. These storms were predicted by Nostradamus, but also have been in the news recently as the sun has been shown more and more activity. These solar storms could have a terrible effect on our Earth and massive available resources, and could potentially even render some areas unlivable. Nostradamus said we will see rising water and birds falling under it. If this were to happen, we could potentially see mass migration and fighting over resources which we already do, so that would not be good. Hopefully the sun just feels like actually like the cool guy in sunglasses that I was drinking in the corner of my element. It's not. Did you know? No. And at number 1 spot today, we have an asteroid. Another Nostradamus prediction is that of an asteroid hitting Earth. Well, I'm going to say the word asteroid. He did speak of a long trail of sparks within the sky, which was made of fireplace. So honestly, I'm not really sure how else this could be interpreted. There's a chance that you might be wondering if there are any potential asteroids lurking around that might be worth keeping an eye on. Like there's asteroids that lurk around. And the answer to that is unfortunately yes. NASA is keeping tabs on a large meteor called 2009 KS1 because it could be on track to collide with Earth on the 6th of May. And I remember what we have in May of climate change has had a lot of different effects on our world, but one catastrophic in 2021. Scientists have been watching the retreat of a glacier in Fitzroy Sound, which is about 50 miles from Anchorage, Alaska. The glacier is supporting a mile-long slope, and once too much of the ice melts, a landslide will occur. The landslide can happen from an earthquake, heavy rain, or even a heat wave. Scientists say that the landslide can happen at any time, but the purpose of glacier speed is the coordinated in the heat. The slope is roughly 500 million cubic meters of rock and dirt, and it would cause a tsunami that would start out being several hundred feet high. It would reach the town of Lear around 20 minutes after, and would still be 30 feet high and would cause a lot of destruction. Also, the amount of people who go fishing in this area, as well as the fact that Lear is often a spot for cruise ships, means that there would be a lot of people affected if this did happen. There could be thousands of people who are devastatingly affected by this mega tsunami. In our number 9 spot today, we have the prediction that President Biden will have health issues. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit the health of the new American president, Joe Biden. President Biden is asking the oldest president America has ever had, and unfortunately it will need to be coupled with health complications. People have predicted that we could see President Biden taking a step down due to health issues. I hope that this is the case and that he's able to stay healthy for his time in office, but there are of course policies put in place in the unfortunate circumstance that could happen. This would of course make Vice President Kamala Harris continue stepping up take on the presidential role. And at number 8 spot today we have government trafficking. In 2021 there are people who believe they're going to be seeing an increase of food traffic by the government. If you really are tracking the law and just considering, I have a device on me at all times that scans my face and remembers every location I visit, and not to mention the fact that it also tracks the websites I visit and listens to my conversations. But people say that even more tracking is coming in place. Some people believe we're moving even closer to a cashless society, which could mean every purchase we make being tracked. Some places are mandating location-based apps be installed in order to track the spread of COVID, but some countries have just looked at location-based data from phones without even using an app at all. Some people worry that the measures that have been implemented for safety during the pandemic might turn into once life does return to some form of normalcy. In our number 7 spot today, we have the pay gap. For a few years now, the pay gap between genders has been treated unfairly, and we saw a small change in the gap, which is positive, but there, of course, is still more work to be done. One of the predictions for 2021 is that people believe we will go back in time on this issue. Their belief that the economic impact that the pandemic had on the world will leave people cutting corners wherever they can, and that this will lead to now identifying people struggling to get paid fairly. I truly hope this doesn't happen as it would be such a step back, and something that we really shouldn't even have to discuss in the first place. In another discussion, we have America collapsing. America had quite the year last year between the pandemic, the riots, the struggling economy, and the whirlwind election. People are speculating that Americans might be at their wit's end, and that this year we could see the collapse of America as one of the leading nations of the world. Experts believe that the world needs a leader, and that it is possible China is taking the place of America as the global leader. So it will be interesting to see what 2021 brings America and Americans, but I truly hope it isn't nothing but good things. And at number 5 spot today, we have ghosts. I know a lot of you out there already believe strongly in this one, so this is for those of you that don't believe. People are predicting that 2021 will bring the conversation that ghosts exist. A little bit detailed about how exactly this will come about, as it would take pretty strong evidence to persuade most of the skeptics to truly believe, but it's certainly open to the possibility of this one. I know there are paranormal hunters who go out and explore and try to communicate with ghosts, but are there any scientists who work on trying to prove that ghosts exist? If you are someone who does believe in ghosts, please leave a comment below on what you would need in order to start believing that they are real. And at number 4 spot today, we have a new virus. People believe with the hopeful end of COVID-19 on the horizon, that we will see a new virus that will send the world right back into lockdown. I'm honestly not sure how this one will go. I think people already have a lot of pandemic fatigue, so I'm not entirely convinced that we will be open to locking down for another who knows how long, especially considering the fact that a lot of people are still locked down. Who knows where this new virus can come from or how it would affect our health. I think it would have to be a lot more deadly than COVID for it to have the same global impact, but I'm no health expert and I'm still in lockdown, so I really have no idea. And another 3 spot today, we have an internet outage. In part 1 of this video, I talked about solar storms and flares, but what I didn't talk about is one of the biggest impacts of them. We saw a solar storm big enough it could wipe out electrical grids, satellite communications, and the internet. It would be pretty catastrophic for our world and heavily rely on the use of electronics in our daily lives. In 1859, there was a powerful solar storm that had telegraphic systems all over the world failing, and some of the operators of them even felt shocked into the electrical current running through them. If something like that happened only back in 1859, it certainly could happen now, and quite possibly this year. In our recent that when an eruption is imminent, people will be notified beforehand because of the absolutely devastating effects it will have. If Yellowstone has a super eruption, we'll see earthquakes in the area leading up to the eruption as the magma rocks are being broken up. Once the eruption happens, volcanic ash will be hurled into the air and scattered across North America. Volcanic ash is made up of splintered rocks and glass and would kill people, animals, plants, and even crush buildings. It would basically render a lot of North America totally unlivable. It will also affect the global climate, and it could cool our Earth. In our number one plus taking up World War III, a lot of people are predicting this is the year that we see the next World War. This was an extremely popular topic of conversation at the beginning of the year last year, as tensions between the US and Iran were rising. But when COVID began to spread and the fears surrounding it grew, that's when we shifted the focus. Now that the pandemic is settling down for some places, the talk and speculation of a world war being on the horizon are growing again. It's tough to say exactly what would cause it and the place it is most likely to break out in, but unfortunately, it is a possibility.
Coming in number 10, we have World War III. I don't know what needs to happen to kick off a world war, but it would seem that tensions are pretty high right now. I mean, we have a global pandemic, a global economic crisis. We just watched one of the strangest presidential elections that I have ever seen, and it would seem that the super rich just keep getting richer. So I don't know how unstable things need to get to force countries to go into an all-out war with each other, but it would seem that we might be reaching a breaking point. What if Nostradamus' passages he wrote twice put up and twice cast down? The East will also weaken the West. Its adversary, after several battles chased by sea, will fall at time of need. This could mean that there will be a conflict breakout between the East and West. Who those people will be, I have no idea. I don't think people are clairvoyants, and I don't even watch the news, so I'm just spitballing over here. But if I had to guess who the big superpowers in the East and the West are, we got America and we also got China. Russia could be one of those guys, too. They might want to all get at each other's throats because one of these countries might think that they need a bigger seat at the table. We also have the fact that new tax laws are going to be put on the super rich, so that always ruffles some feathers. Coming in at number 9, we have rising sea levels. Okay, let's revisit one of the points that I just brought up. Again, Nostradamus said adversaries after several battles chased by sea will fail at time of need. Okay, so if we were able to read this normally, it sounds like we're talking about
Spoilers didn't injure, dude. He's like injuring. It's like made of brass.
It says chased by sea, but it literally the sea will be chasing us down and trying to take our land away from us because the sea levels are rising and we're going to end up underwater. And when it says we fail at time of need, that could be referencing all the people that need help now from sea levels rising and all the ways to probably help slow down climate change that we aren't doing, and how all these people will be left in the dust by this rapidly changing environment. I don't think now would be a good opportunity to buy a beachside home. I think we should think more inland, somewhere that's high with a neutral climate that has a lot of land to grow stuff on. If anyone watching this video is planning on making some sort of doomsday farm, hit me up in my DMs. I'm looking for a backup plan if the whole world starts to fall apart. And guys, remember to hit that like button because it really helps us out. Coming in number 8, if Trump will fall ill. I mean, I don't think Nostradamus used the name Trump, but you know he was talking about world leaders of some countries. It seems that some people think that one of the predictions that came from the French prophet was that Trump will fall ill with a mysterious sickness. Now, some people could say that this has already happened and he was fine. As we all remember, Trump caught the coronavirus and walked out on that balcony and stood in front of all that people. He was kind of breathing like a wolf. But is COVID-19 that mysterious of an illness? I don't really think so. We all know where this thing came from and what it does to people. I think if this prediction is going to come true, it's going to be something much more mysterious that snags it. Now, what is that mysterious thing going to be? Well, I have no clue. If I... that mysterious now, would it? But I think it would be something that would happen in the hospital for quite some time. Will this take the June out? I don't know. I told you guys this thing is supposed to be mysterious. Coming in number 7, we have the assassination attempt of Putin. Well, this one actually makes perfect sense. The guy's supposed to be maybe the most powerful person on the planet. And when you're in the hot seat and people are very afraid of you, they're also gunning to take you out. There's an old rule of power. You never want to be the king. You want to be the guy who advises the king. Because if he ever falls, you could be like, dude, I didn't even do anything with all this crazy news. Then he could sneak out with anything horrible happening. But Nostradamus is called that someone will come for the king and try to take his crown. Not only that, but that the reason he will be assassinated will be attributed to the fact that someone close to him betrays him. I know that is the tea, ladies and gentlemen. Someone who is close to Vladimir Putin is going to set him up to be killed. Now, will this attempt work? Well, I think we have a theme here. I have no idea. For the sake of whoever is going to try and pull this off, I hope it does. Because if you try and kill Vladimir Putin and then you're unsuccessful and he finds you, he's going to torture you for longer than he is the king of Russia or whatever his title is. Coming in number 6, we have the rise of mechanization. I mean, from our perspective, this seems like a no-brainer, but thinking back to when Nostradamus was alive, it would have been a long shot to follow mechanization. In one passage, he wrote, "The new sage with a lone brain sees it. By his disciples intended to be immortal, eyes to the self, hands in blossom, bodies in fire." The new sage with a lone brain could be referencing the hive mind that robots would have to take all of our jobs. They would all operate with one central hub, and they would all be controlled from there. And they obviously would be immortal in a sense. Obviously, everything can die. But the fact that robots can constantly be repaired and upgraded and never need to stop working as long as the model is relevant, they can keep going. Having a robot workforce is the closest thing we'll ever have to having someone who can work forever, never need a break, and they also don't need any life. But what does that mean for everyone else who needs to work to feed their families and just to survive? I mean, we don't really have a system set up for people who want to opt out of capitalism. Do you want to hear universal basic income, anybody? Next up, we have economic collapse. We have already taken a massive hit from the coronavirus. Many people lost their jobs. Some people are just making way less money at work, and there doesn't seem to be end in sight. The vaccine should help. There's no guarantee that this is going to be the end of the virus. Now, in the meantime, some countries are forcing open money to their people if they don't have a job or were fired or laid off or need some time to get things back together. Other countries are not providing anything to their people, and they don't really know how those people are surviving. I mean, you still have to pay bills, but there's no money coming in. So it's suspected that many people are just digging a massive hole with debt, and when this is all over, unless there's some sort of financial aid to get these people out of debt, there will be no way that they can break free from this. And we might start to see people walk out on their debts or mass bankruptcy sweep over countries. This would cause the economy to flop and everything to fall into chaos. And last sucks. Coming in number 4, we have the vaccine will make us sick. Now, I want to say right off the bat, I am not anti-vaccination. This is a top 10 list for a top 10 channel, and this video is about predictions from a guy who is dead. Don't take this too seriously. So Nostradamus predicted a massive plague around 2020, and I think it's easy to see what the plague was. It was clearly COVID-19. But some people are speculating that the real sickness is yet to come. Are you kidding me? I mean, I hope that this isn't the case. We might get the tail end of this thing, so I would like it to be over as soon as possible. If another pandemic is on its way, I'm just going to move to some isolated island and become a farmer. But some people suspect that the vaccine would be a rush up that will lead to more people getting sick and cause a second outbreak of a new virus that we are not prepared for. That sounds lovely. Coming in number 3, we have natural disasters. This is nothing new coming from Nostradamus. This is the kind of thing you love to call out, but this time it seems to be focused in one place. And that place is America. There are earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, and a whole bunch of other events that might be heading towards the states in 2021. I mean, can things finally turn around after how crazy the year 2020 was? Do you think the universe will be tired of stressing everyone out for just a little bit and would take a break? But turns out that things might get even more hectic. But if you're not living in the stateside, you have to start dipping into that donation fund because there might be a few places that are in need of some help in the coming years. Coming in at number 2, we have mass revolution. We are in the late stages of capitalism, and as much as people like to pitch the idea that everyone can make it in this world with a little elbow most recent time, that's not true for everyone, and the gap between rich and poor is growing every day. It's constantly harder to live as a middle-class worker, and just making up money to simply raise a family, and people might start saying enough is enough. Nostradamus predicted a massive shift in humanity in the year 2020 or 2021. That there will be a new consciousness as a public perception of how to act will be geared towards different ways of living. Maybe we will see a mass uprising of people who are underpaid and underappreciated, and that will lead to a new way of life. Coming in for number one spot, we have the end of days. I mean, it's not only Nostradamus that has predicted this to happen, but there's been a lot of people from all over the world who are constantly calling out that doomsday is coming. I mean, building the doomsday bunker is a whole subculture that people are constantly getting into. Ever since the pandemic hit off, people have been stockpiling ammunition to make sure if anyone comes around the home looking for food, the only thing they're going to find is hot lead. But maybe it is this year. It would seem that so many horrific things are pretending at the same time. We have a global pandemic that has been hitting the world so hard. We have climate change that is supposed to make our planet unlivable and possibly lead to the end of humanity. We have an economic crisis on the horizon that we haven't heard any action plan for. And on top of all of this, political tensions are at an all-time high. And not to mention, there's always one of those Super Bowl teams that could blow up at any second. I'm sure if something like that happened, you would all have the ample stress levels to deal with it. And none of us would freak out. We'd just all be super calm.
There are some horrible people in the world, and we have done it and what people in Korea. Here are the top things that we say and how they work and how they stop listening. They're starting off with this truly one of the worst people I've ever heard about. Stop very starts off with being entirely accepted and history and going to entire brain. This is the Republic Party, which is the independent, nationalistic, and unfair people ever lived. First, at a very young age, you begin to see others like you cannot develop your own needs. He spent 4 years in prison for one big crime when he was around 17 years old, but when he was paroled after the 4 years, he immediately began to really again. In 1990, he was caught defending a woman who was waiting for her body in his home and ended up living in a hospital for the death of her. After letting her go, he was in hospital and eventually sent to the study. In the number 9 spot, we have Dennis Rader. The VP takes over his real name is Dennis Rader, is one of the most serial killers in 1974. He left haunting letters to police and newspapers to describe his crime, but thankfully his annoyingly bloody victims were so professionally survived. Because he committed the infection so badly, 2004 started to use of the media again to try to sell whatever. But this, combined with this other lack of knowledge on how technology works, led to Mr. Collection in 2005. Imagine getting away with those crimes for so long, and your ego and your own ignorance doesn't really end. During this trial, Mr. Collection remembers crimes that he did with friends and his whole world, which is horrifying and honestly very unnerving. After his trial, he was sentenced years. When Rader was first arrested and police were taken to the station, an officer asked him, "Mr. Rader, do you know why you're going downtown?" Which he replied, "Oh, I have a good Christmas job." And another big one they get Chester Turner. Chester is an American serial killer who, on April 30th, 2007, was convicted of taking the lives of 11 women in the Los Angeles area, and up to 19 in 2014, or more than they were able to tie after him. It was referred to by commentators as one of the most prolific serial killers in human history, and if you know Los Angeles, history with things like that, that is not something you should likely. In a traditional trial, there was a successful sentence to death, but in the following one in 2014, he also received a But with a lot of these types of stories, DNA basically today and how stories wind up in horrible, horrible ones. In another subject possibly on a very good day, this horrible TV also sometimes known as the killer, and it starts to take somewhere between 1982 and the country of 1991. We take the 49 crimes of the past, unbelievable 71, the second most prolific serial killer in the United States in terms of most victims of children or women in other vulnerable circumstances, and so violent evidence, 2001, according to the connected to zero shot. So there is a serial book where they would verify the death sentence indicates disclosure of the location of all of the victims. Very quickly show that there's the death sentence and instead of sentence, life without the possibility of parole. Not only did we see this post of the victims, because they were called and that he completed most of them, but he also called these crimes history. I believe. In another quick question, I'm Charles and Charles' story really started off with the Catholic Church in the United States that he dropped out after his first semester and after he was involved in a gun accident. He then tried to avoid suicide and or he called doctors that he he was arrested by military police and years later he used automatic weapons and then somehow he escaped custody and headed back towards northern California, and this is when he met Leonard Blake, another real story. Charles did end up going away and serving a bit of time, but it was only 18 months and then he was back with Leonard, and that's when the two started their crime spree together. It is believed that together the pair took the lives of somewhere from 11 to 25 different people. When Leonard was caught and brought into custody, the police of the cyanide dose he had given him Kraken and then he got life, but Charles ended up getting trial. He was convicted of 11 of the 12 death row accidents. In another last one, we have Robert Pickett. This horrible person is one of the worst Canadians to ever live, and is one of our country's worst serial killers ever. Pickett dropped out of school and began working at his family's pig farm, and this is where most of his absolutely horrendous stuff took place. He was first arrested in 2002 and was convicted in 2007 of killing the lives of 6 people, and throughout an extremely lengthy investigation, evidence of many war crimes took place. During his time in jail, an undercover police officer posed as his cellmate and Pickett confessed to 49 crimes. Apparently, he said to the undercover officer that he wanted to kill one more life to make it okay, and that he only got caught because he was lost. The entire trial was a bit of a mess, but it led to a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 25 years, which was the longest possible sentence under Canadian law at the time. This unfortunately does mean that he will be eligible for parole within the next decade, so let's hope that never, ever happens. In another fourth question, we have the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer is one of the most well-known serial killers ever, and that is never a business. From 1973 to 1986, the DSA was responsible for taking the lives of 13 people, harming 50, and 120 different burglaries all across California. From the investigation process, he was given access to both taunt and threaten him, and with victims, just on a whole other disgusting level. So recent genetic testing, like those 20 gene music, the identity of the DSA was finally revealed after years and years of investigation. Basically, they uploaded the DNA profile that they were able to get from the crime scene to the website UCR. They were able to find the connection with one person representing great-great-great-grandparents as a match. And then from there, the genealogist did a large family tree, and from there, they were then able to figure out the suspect. After converting one DNA sample for one of the suspects and comparing them with the crime scene DNA, they were finally able to arrest Joseph James D'Angelo, who is the killer. After decades of waiting, the victims of his crimes were finally able to be justice served as 2 sentences, 12 life sentences, plus 8 years. He was spared the death penalty because he committed to numerous crimes that he had perpetrated, some of which he wasn't even being charged for. He's now 75 years old and will definitely spend the rest of his life in prison. In another 3 questioning, we have Rodney Alaska. Rodney is a horrible monster who was convicted and sentenced to death for 5 killings that he committed in California from 1977 to second half. He also received an additional 25 years to life after being two other players in the world for 1971 to 1977. Crosby got away with his tracks for a while, but he was at the top of the list of suspects because he was taking the gold cars and photographer. Crosby is often referred to as the dating game killer because of his appearance on the show, which is what we now know about him, is absolutely horrifying. What's even crazier is that he actually wanted the show to be on, but the episode Bachelorette was stolen adjacent because she found him, quote, crazy. This is just a reminder who always trusts your instincts. It isn't exactly known just how many victims Rocky had, but it's potentially thought that it could be much higher than the number he was convicted for. In July of last year, Rocky passed away in prison at the age of 77. In another construction of the Zodiac Killer. This one had to make it on the list today because while there are a plethora of terrifying people on this list, nothing is as terrifying as a top serial killer, and the Zodiac is definitely the most prolific of all. The Zodiac Killer is alive in 5 people in the head, so this area is December 1960 to October 1969. We're both known for targeting young couple for a low male cab driver. Despite people luckily and thankfully escaping the attempted evil doings, he has still never been caught. He was one of those losers who left notes and stuff in the movie. I'd like to think that you're being all cool and clever and brave while they do that. But if you're so great and almighty and unafraid, then show us your face. While no one has heard of the Zodiac mentioned in the morning, actually admits that this country that anyone can go and finally know who is real and that. And the number one question is not Robert here. Robert's often referred to as Mr. Baker, and his story is written. He's one of the most talented in Alaska's history because for over a decade, he would kidnap women and bring them to Oblivion where he would then stuff them like bread. I am just now realizing that there's definitely an episode of Criminal Minds about this guy. Sometimes the premise is just so dark that it skips the truth. The reason he got away with his crimes for so long is because outside of these horrific things, one of my best friends was getting nicer to get this tiny papers for parents, and now I'm starting to feel a little suspicious. I want to look into their profit. Robert was heading to church by day and prowling strip clubs at night, looking for the next person to escape. What led to the downfall of this horrible monster was a badass who did because him who was able to escape from Robert and return to the evidence behind. He then went to the authorities and told them what happened, and this led to a search warrant for Robert's property, which is where all the evidence was needed lies. Robert was given a life study, 17 women, and in 1963 he spent 461 years in a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Alright guys, that's what I want to say. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host today, and this is Lon.
To give the Kraken a 2-1 lead for McCann by 65. But why? Gets going through traffic to the front of the base. And it hits something. Up in the cross. Well, now it gets through, I think. It went to the left of the beginning. You don't see that very often. That was pretty good. That might be a gun. He's back in the place of the guys are saying bye for his soul. On the one-timer by McCann. He's done a lot on it. I'm going to have a little bit of this one. Sit up top. Let's see it. Ready up. It was deflected by Colin Blackwell. He pops it past the glove hand of Brady. So, it all to a sudden the Kraken have a 3-1 lead. I'll go back to the point now. It's one of those plays with the big guy.
Welcome to Gas Pack and Good Bag, with unlimited orders, local reviews, and technical gallon, and the corner store at home any hour. Subscribe to Gas Pack for local reviews and exclusive deals for savings on every order.
Oh my god, okay. Jen, of course. What about this guy, Rocky Carlson? And of course, I'll obviously take Brandon Clark, dude.
Alright, so just kind of shown, I didn't know this was coming out in January, by the way. The second DLC got early access. Stuff for that. Sent me an email today, put it early, and I was like, when did it come out? I have no idea. So, we played Boston Sanity. Now, I played the main game and Boston Sanity both on PS5. I played this kind of after it came out. This is the first one I had early access. So, Pagan Control, we got Joseph, the father, the last. I don't know when that's coming out. But anyway, this is, I think I got the name right. I had to look it up to make sure. Everybody's different. But Far Cry 4 was really good. It's just been so long since I played it. This would be a nice little trip out memory lane, hopefully. So, any likes, drop this, greatly appreciated. I'm assuming it's just like the last DLC where there's no, I mean, you can pause it, but there's no like saving and returning. It's like a roguelike experience. So I kind of set aside the 2 hours. Hopefully I can do this all in one sitting. We'll kind of see how it goes. But anyways, you guys are awesome. All the likes, really appreciate it. We have like 10,000 likes. Expect this first part. And the rest of it. So, alright, actually I'm not sure the first part. Expect all of it quickly. How about that? Alright, let's see. Alright, keep in mind, let's see. Big man, revisit icon. Okay, the location encounter goes with the time. Discover deepest desires. Okay. I never got all the other stuff. By the way, I'm playing on PvP. None of my progress carries over. I wish more games had like a cost progression. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, my level one is cool. The first one you don't block. Yeah. Mouse and keyboard too, guys. Hopefully you're proud of me. Well, let's see.
So I was still dating Carlson, right? Hopefully.
What have you done?
go. Check it out. Alright, first I gotta take my sensitivity. That's actually a touch too high. I'm not gonna lie, it was like, yeah, let's put out like that, maybe both those would be good at me. No. Okay, for everything else is fine. I don't wanna think it's a little, yeah, it's a little bit better. Okay. I'll do it really quick. Alright, surprise! Let me get that for you. How slightly, how hot. Yeah, okay. Significantly, great response to all those good things. Back. Go. This right here looks really nice too. Take a breath. Block. Yeah, capacity. Alright, here we go. Go, this next is kind of cool. Hey, let's go. I'm not gonna lie, so like 3 pieces of the map. Last time it was like the dragon shells or whatever it was. That's something I don't lose all here's my worry about this, right? I just bought a backup generator for my house. I haven't hooked it up. If I get to the end of my power, series over. Call it a kind of tragedy, alright? Alright, respect. Good respect, yep. I'm a little bit 15 down to 100 more. I don't know like that's a little better. I felt like it was too high and you should get to one thing I struggle with a PS5 controller a little bit now. Okay. Wait a second. What we got here? This is all the stuff we can actually check out. Journal. I guess the difficulty like the 5, like that's actually insane. But you gotta use the mirror to actually unlock. I wonder if I could have maybe run around and farm some respect early on. It's like Apex now. Aiming on a controller on Far Cry 6 last time was like a pain. I was struggling. The pinpoint accuracy you need in this game, a lot of the guns have a lot of recoil. Most games, recoil is like, it's offset by maybe aim assist or something else, but this game...
Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I am your hostess with the mostest knowledge of horrifying places. Bear that in mind as we chat the top 10 places scarier than Area 51 Part 2. Landon did Part 1, but he wants me to bring you Part 2, so you guys are in for a treat. Let's get spooky. Before we do though, I want to ask you what you think the happiest place on earth is. A bit of brief respite before we get dark. For me, the happiest place is anywhere where my friends, family and Danny are. Honestly, it doesn't matter where that would be, but if they were all together, that's the happiest place on earth. But let me know yours in the comment section down below. Also, like this video and share it with your friends. If you want to read more about our sources, they're all in the description box, as are links to our most amazing Instagrams. Stick around to the end, because I'm going to be replying to your comments. Coming in at number 10, we have the Belize Hole. Anyway, if you've been watching this channel long enough, you will know that while I do love the ocean, deep sea creatures scare the heck out of me. So with that in mind, what do you think lives in this big deep hole? Because honestly, I don't want to know. The Great Blue Hole is a giant submarine sinkhole off the coast of Belize, and oh my god, can you even imagine what deep sea creatures are lurking in there just waiting to strike? The overhead aerial shots are just incredible, as are the shots from in the hole looking up. Yep, that's right, you can do some shallow diving in the hole. The hole is 300 meters wide and 125 meters deep, and it's filled with all kinds of marine mysteries from both land and down. Sure, Area 51 may have a hearty slice of them aliens, but some deep sea creatures are as good as aliens to me. There's a whole bunch of weird things going on in there. To me, when I imagine aliens, I often imagine them looking like deep sea jellies, so what's the difference? Coming in at number 9, we have pride gangs. There are many reasons that pride gangs in the Ukraine is terrifying, but let's start with the nuclear radiation. It's a very good place to start. Pride gang is a ghost town that stands next to the Chernobyl power plant, home of the famous Chernobyl incident in 1986. On April 27th of that year, the worst nuclear disaster in history took place when a reactor exploded and caught fire. This billowed radioactive contamination across the area. It is actually noted to have precipitated in parts of Russia and West Europe. It was serious. It caught fire and was finally contained 9 days later. Around 100 people died, but it led to the indirect deaths of thousands. In the Chernobyl TV show, the Pride Gang Bridge of Death is highlighted. Allegedly, a crowd gathered on the bridge that linked Pride Gang to Chernobyl, unaware that they were exposing themselves to harmful radiation as they watched the power plant burn. Now there is an 18-mile exclusion zone around the area which includes the town of Pride Gang, which used to be home to 49,000 people, but is now utterly abandoned and utterly poisonous. Abandoned places are creepy anyway, but throwing some toxic radiation? No. Images of the abandoned amusement park scare me the most. Some urban explorers have ventured in to capture footage of the spooky town, but honestly, I would rather them than me. And also, I am sure that it's haunted. I'm sure. Speaking of haunting, coming in at number 8, we have Nagaro in Japan. Never mind them aliens, it's them dolls I'm afraid of. I know that Japan is quirky and by and large I would love to visit, but this is one place that I would absolutely not want to step into. You couldn't even pay me. Nestled in the mountains of West Japan, there is a tiny village filled with life-size dolls, and I do not stand. The dolls in the village outnumber the humans 10 to 1. As the population dwindled, oddly, the amount of dolls increased. Abandoned schools and grocery stores are now literally filled with dolls. They've been put in positions to diminish those who have left, which is so weird. You can find a bunch of them waiting at a bus stop for a bus that will never come. Others sitting behind desks at school. There are 40 people and 400 dolls in this town. I'm growing. I don't like those dolls. I really don't. Coming into number 7, we have the Church of Bones. Then aliens is one thing, but a church decorated with the bones of 30,000 pet victims is entirely another. Entering this settlement ossuary won't get you shot, but it could haunt you for the rest of your life. The ossuary is a small Roman Catholic chapel in the town of Selden in the Czech Republic. The building dates back to the 13th century, but it seems that it received its macabre makeover in the 16th
century, where it blinds among exhumed bones surrounding the land. Now the church boasts pillars of skulls, chandeliers of assorted parts. It's weirdly ostentatious and utterly horrifying. Scarier still is the bone art. Like, who does that? Scary or not, it hasn't seemed to put people off. One person even asked from Google reviews if they could get married there. Thankfully, the answer is no. Coming in at number 6, where do some of the most terrifying Russian prisoners go? Black Eagle Penal Colony 56. I don't want to go there, I don't. So you would have to have done some really awful stuff to get yourself backed up in Penal Colony 56. This is a Russian gulag home to 260 killers who between them are thought to have extinguished the lives of 800 people. These prisoners are kept inside for 23 hours a day, just given 1 hour to walk in a roofless room. The gulag is 7 hours from civilization, deep in the middle of a forest. In the winter, temperatures drop to minus 40 degrees Celsius and Fahrenheit. In 1997, Moscow suspended the death penalty. In 2017, the first inmate was released from Black Eagle 56. Release or death are the only way you're getting out of that prison. You can't escape unless you want to be mauled by animals or freeze to death in the forest. Would you want to spend a day inside Black Eagle with some of the biggest Russian killers? I know that I wouldn't. Coming into number 5, we have Al and Dizia. I don't believe in hell, but if I did, I think it would look a bit like Al and Dizia in Libya. Al and Dizia is thought to be the hottest place on Earth, with recorded temperatures of 57.8 degrees Celsius. That's 136 degrees Fahrenheit. However, this record was discredited and later ignored as the record keeper was inexperienced. That being said, recorded temperatures have regularly exceeded 50 degrees Celsius, which is so hot. It isn't surprising though, seeing as it's the limit of an actual desert. Although, people do live here, which to me is very, very, very stressful. I actually almost had a panic attack walking in an hour with no shade in the midday sun when it was only 27 degrees the other week, so I'm pretty sure that I would pass away. R.I.P. me. The hot and arid land is an hour's drive away from the coast, but if your car broke down, it would take you 9.5 hours to walk to the water. In those conditions, you'd die. Coming in at number 4, more hell. We've got the doorway to hell in Turkmenistan. I feel like Turkmenistan doesn't get enough air. I hear it's just making top 10, so I'm just going to give it some love right now. It doesn't come up that much, so I'm seeing it trying to shine. And it's shining its shell in all of its fiery glory. So the official name of the doorway to hell is the Devaza gas crater. It is a 230-foot hole that's been on fire since 1971. It was created when a Soviet drilling rig accidentally hit a gas cavern, causing the rig to fall into the collapsed ground. Poisonous gas fumes were leaking into the air, so the Soviets decided to set it alight in the hope that it would stop burning in a few weeks. It's been nearly 50 years and it's still on fire. Obviously, Turkmenistan are hoping that it will become a tourist attraction. Even weirder, the president of Turkmenistan was rumoured to have died, but just this week he revealed he was alive in a sensational video of him driving rings around the fiery pit. Now, I thought politics in the UK was bizarre, but it turns out we're not the weirdest ones on earth. Ooh, coming in at number 3, we have Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo is a serious place. For those that end up prisoner there, it is categorically the worst place in the world. In fact, according to Amnesty International, it is a place in major violation of human rights. Inmates are detained indefinitely without trial. There have been a lot of reports of prisoner torture here. A lot of people have died here, a lot by suicide, although you won't find out exactly how many. Minors are also reported to have been detained here, so youths have also been subjected to savage treatment. Guantanamo was opened in 2002 by George W. Bush as part of his war on terror, and despite calls for it to be closed, President Trump has said it will remain open indefinitely. 40 people remain there. By and large, they are people suspected of being enemies of the United States. The detention camp is in a far-flung part of Cuba and is surrounded by ocean on one side and wasteland on another. It's a scary, desolate, isolated and inescapable place. The most terrifying thing is that within Guantanamo, the United States government agents and soldiers can do whatever they want to prisoners without worrying about the law. Coming into number 2, we have the entire country of North Korea. Okay, level with me here. I get that Area 51 is scary and you'll get shot trying to enter, but visiting North Korea means you might never be able to leave, and if you do, you'll probably be doing it in a coffin. In theory, anyone can freely visit North Korea, aside from South Koreans and journalists who are regularly denied entry. The thing is though, when you're there, you're only allowed to travel inside strictly designated tour areas with Korean guides. If you try to stray off the beaten path, well, no matter what religion you believe in, you better start praying. Canada and the United States of America heavily discourage anyone from visiting the volatile country, which is known to be not so secretly developing nuclear weapons. Let me draw your attention to the case of Otto Warmbier. The American university student visited Pyongyang at the end of 2015 when he was studying abroad in Hong Kong. In January 2016, he was arrested for attempting to steal a propaganda sign and sentenced to 15 years hard labour. This is what the North Korean government tells us anyway. We actually don't know if he ever tried to steal the sign, and even if he did, 15 years hard labour. Either way, what would seem like harmless fun in Western countries would actually get you sentenced to, something equivalent of a life sentence in some countries. Eventually, Warmbier was returned to the United States in June 2017. However, he was delivered in a coma. 6 days after returning back to US soil, he sadly passed away aged 22. His story, of course, is not unique. There are millions of people living in a dictatorship, and many people want out. Defectors have spoken out about how tough and cruel life is living there. Alright, we started this video with a hole, let's end it with one. Coming into number one, the scariest place ever, a black hole. Okay, listen, name me a place scarier than a black hole, because you can't. Trust me, you can't. There is no place scarier. I will, on record, nowhere. Black holes are areas of space and time that exhibit such strong gravitational pull on things, from particles to radiation and even light, that nothing can escape it. This is where the laws of physics as we know them break down. Particles are torn up on what is known as the event horizon. This is the beginning of a swirl-like drain around the black hole. The event horizon is the point of no return. What's at the end of a black hole? We just don't know. The nearest black hole to Earth is thought to be up to 12 times the mass of our Sun. Named Monocerotis,
That's like temper sprinters.
Welcome back. Alright, from Bunny 1 over here, Bunny 2 over here. Alright, so taking on the cat trade is official. Just 3 games in the National Hockey League tonight, so it's actually hardcore TV audience to the ones watching tonight. Review, tomorrow we're down to 7 games. They've delayed all that wonderful stuff. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump right in with Boston Bruins and the Washington Capitals. And it's Hallmark versus Cali. Cali's been into this with a lot of talk about his shutout streak to start his career and all that. And sadly, that storyline is going to be forgotten after tonight, at least on some of them. He then thought it was the right thing to say the Caps are the early press. And then on this play by Carlo, could have got that, moved it, Hallmark.
Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I am your host, Rebecca Velvet, and today we are getting deep, dark and mysterious as we wade into the unknown. That's right, I am talking the top 10 scary tunnels that people never return from. So, I've got a question for you guys. Do you hold your breath when you drive through a tunnel? I always do, but I can never quite make it. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll be responding to some comments from a previous video at the end of this one. Coming in at number 10 is the Channel Tunnel. The Channel Tunnel is 31.4 miles long underwater, and it connects the